Good morning, everyone. So, today I'm excited to delve into PT 365 in a more authentic way and insightful manner. Alongside the key facts and example, I have incorporated the PYQ for both mains and prelims to enhance our understanding of that particular topic. So, let's make today's session more engaging, more enriching. Thank you. ओके तो आज हम लोग स्टार्ट करेंगे इशू रिलेटेड टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। इशू रिलेटेड टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी आज हमारा टॉपिक है, पहला जो है वो है सिटीजनशिप। इस पर्टिकुलर सिटीजनशिप टॉपिक के अंदर हम जानेंगे चीजें जो इस तरीके से हैं। हम इस टॉपिक में जानेंगे सिटीजनशिप एक्ट 1955 के बारे में, जो ये डिफाइन करता है कि हाउ अ पर्सन कैन बिकम अ इंडियन सिटीजन। इसके साथ ही हम जानेंगे इसमें कि सेक्शन 6 से ग्रांट्स करता है सिटीजनशिप टू माइग्रेट हु अराइव्ड इन असम बिफोर 1971। इसके साथ ही हम सिटीजनशिप एक्ट 2019 को भी देखेंगे, जो हेल्प करता है प्रोसिक्यूटेड टू माइनॉरिटीज फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश, पाकिस्तान एंड अफगानिस्तान बिकम द इंडियन सिटीजन फास्टर। इसके साथ हम इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक में ये भी जानेंगे कि किस तरीके से फॉरेन ट्रिब्यूनल्स है, ये कैसे काम करती है, हाउ द फॉरेनर ट्रिब्यूनल्स डिसाइड हु इज एन इंडियन सिटीजन और ए फॉरेनर मेनली इन आसाम। सो ये चीजें यहाँ मेंशन क्यों हुई है, क्या था, क्यों न्यूज़ में था, या क्या ये आज मैटर करता है इस चीज को डिस्कस करना। सो डेफिनेटली बिकॉज आज भी there is a debate is going on. So debate over the illegal immigration and citizenship continue in Assam and other border states. Okay, and the Supreme Court ruling on Section 6A confirmed its validity, impacting many people in Assam. And foreigner tribunals play a key role in deciding citizenship dispute. Okay, so let's see why it is in news and what Supreme Court says according. So according to the Supreme Court, Supreme Court upheld the validity of Section 6A of the Citizenship Act 1955, which deal with granting the Indian citizenship to certain migrating Assam. Okay, let's understand about the Citizenship Act 1955 first. So according to the Citizenship Act 1955, it's laid down the rule for how a person can become an Indian citizen. That is by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, and incorporation of the territory. Right? So through this five way, any person can acquire the citizenship of India. So by birth means if you are born in India under a if anyone, not you, but any he or she can born in India under a specific condition, they can get the citizenship. Okay, but the descent means if anyone or if anyone's parents are Indian citizen but with some condition. By registration means through the registration, this registration process given to people of India origin residing in India for a certain period. By the naturalization means given to foreigners who have lived in India for 12 years and meet other conditions, so they are eligible to get the citizenship of India. And incorporation of territory means if a new territory become a part of India, for example, uh, Sikkim in 1975 become the part of the India. So now the Sikkim's people are Indian. Getting my point? So through this five way, anyone can acquire the citizenship. Okay. So it does not provide the dual citizenship. Means in India, there is no any concept of dual citizenship, right? Unlike the USA, UK, and Pakistan, India does not allow dual citizenship. If an Indian citizen takes citizenship of another country, they lose Indian citizenship. Clear? See, now come to the section 6A. What is it? Right? So, if we are talking about section 6A, so people who migrated between 1st of January 1966 and March 24, 1971 from Bangladesh to Assam were identified as a foreigner first, okay? But after staying for 10 years, they could become a Indian citizens, okay? See, how they become the Indian citizens? Right, they move from the Bangladesh, they migrate from the Bangladesh, and after the 10 years they become the Indian citizen. How? What is the story behind it? Just understand the background. Okay, see, Assam saw a huge influx of migrants from East Pakistan. Okay, now it is a Bangladesh. So before 1971, leading to protest. So to resolve this, the Assam Accord, it's happened in 1985. Okay. So Assam Accord was signed between the Indian government and the Assam leaders. So as a result, Section 6A was added to the Citizenship Act to grant citizenship to some of these migrants. Clear? So in this way, this Assam Accord give the power to Section 6A that it's identify the Bangladeshi as a foreigners, and then after when they stay for 10 years they could become the Indian citizens. Clear? Sometimes it is an controversial, right? So why is it controversial? Because some Assamese group argue argues it allowed too many illegal migrants to become citizen. It's affecting the local population also, and others say it protects prosecuted migrant from Bangladesh. So this is the overall controversy. If let's understand it with the example. Suppose a person migrated from Bangladesh to Assam in 1968. So they were initially treated as a foreigner. Okay. But after the 10 years, they become an Indian citizen under the section 6A. Clear? So recent Supreme Court ruling that Supreme Court upheld section 6A, meaning that people who got citizenship under this law will continue to remain citizen in India. Clear? Okay. If we are talking about Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, amend the Citizenship Act 55. So first let's understand about this Citizenship Act 2019. Okay, what is it? So CCA 2019 is made changes to the CCA 1955. Okay, so it grants citizenship to persecuted religious minority. What is religious minority? Under this, there is Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, and Christian from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. If they arrived in India before December 31st, 2014, does not apply to Muslim from this country. So this is the overall Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. Okay. Now understand the difference between Citizenship Act 2019 and Section 6A. Okay. So if we are comparing this both, so according to that, okay, if I give you some data related to it, so you can see the, just try to understand these things, that if we can able to see the difference between CCA and Section 6A, so if we see that in the focus area, so Section 6A only applicable in Assam, right? But CCA 2019 applicable in all over India. Okay, so who get benefited of 6A? The migrant from the Bangladesh before 1971 who came here, they are benefited under the section 6A. But religious minority from the Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan before 24, they all get benefited. Okay. What is the legal status? So according to the legal status, upheld by the Supreme Court. Section 6A is upheld by the Supreme Court, but CCA 2019 not yet implemented. Okay, not yet implemented. So we will learn in the next topic also. So when it is implemented. Okay, now come to the topic. So we have discussed the things. See, still some argue or some controversy is going on related to CCA 2019 that CCA 2019 is discriminatory since it's excluded Muslims and other support is also like they saying it helps prosecuted minority. Okay, now understand with the example. Suppose a Hindu family from the Bangladesh, okay, migrated to West Bengal in 2005 due to persecution. Under CCA 2019, they could get Indian citizenship faster. Clear? Okay. Now let's understand about the foreign tribunals. What is the foreign tribunals? So Supreme Court recently overturned a decision of an Assam foreign tribunals declaring a resident as a Indian citizen. So first you have to understand what are foreign tribunals. See, foreign tribunals, it's give the special court that decide if a person is an Indian citizen or a foreigner. Foreigner tribunals established under the Foreigner Order 1964 based on Section 3 of the Foreigner Act 1946. It is set up mainly in Assam to identify the illegal migrants. What is the power of the foreigner tribunals? This tribunal only this tribunal can declare someone a foreigner, being excluded from the National Register of Citizens does not automatically make a person a foreigner. For example, if a person in Assam was left out of NRC because they could not provide old document, in this case, the foreigner tribunal review the case and decide they were an Indian citizens. Clear? Okay. So this is all about the citizenships. Now move to the next topic that is related to again citizenship, but it is Amendment Rule 2024. Okay, so why it is in news? It is in news because the Ministry of Home Affairs has identified, sorry, has notified the Citizenship Amendment Rule 24 to enforce the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. Okay, because these rules define how eligible migrants can apply for Indian citizenships. Clear? Okay. So just understand who can apply for Indian citizenships. Okay, what is the eligibility to get the Indian citizenships? So a person of Indian origin, first, a person is a Indian origin. Second, if he or she married to an Indian citizen. Third, a minor child of an Indian citizen. Fourth, a person whose parents are registered as an Indian citizen. A person whose parents are who parents were citizen of independent India and a registered overseas citizen of India cardholder. The person who has a OCI card, they registered under the citizenship, or they are eligible for the Indian citizenship. Right? For example, suppose a Buddhist refugee from Bangladesh who entered India in 2012. Okay, he can now apply for Indian citizenship if they meet the condition. Right? A Christian from Pakistan married to an Indian citizen can also apply for the citizenship. But a Muslim from the Pakistan, they are not eligible to get the Indian citizenship. Clear? Fine. Let's move to the other point. There is a few other qualification for the citizenship by naturalization process. So, under the naturalization process, there is a need of there is must submit an affidavit verifying the correctness of their application. Another Indian citizen must testify to their good character and must know one of the language from the eighth schedule of eighth schedule of the constitution, right? For example, if a Sikh from the Pakistan or Afghanistan who speaks Hindi or Punjabi can apply for this. Okay. Suppose a Hindu from the Pakistan who knows the Gujarati or Bengali, he or she also qualifies. Clear? Now, there is a few more points according to the data. Let's see. What is it? Proof of nationality. What does it mean? According to the proof of nationality or proof of entry into India, the new rules expand the list of acceptable document to prove entry into India. Now a person can submit visa, residential permit, census slip, Aadhaar card only as supporting document, not proof of the nationality. They are the supportive document. Okay, Aadhaar card only as the supportive document, not proof of the nationality. For example, if a Hindu from the Bangladesh who came to India in 2013 can submit their old visa or residential permit as a proof. Okay. Next is renouncing citizenship of another country. It means if a person is granted Indian citizenship, they must declare that they are giving up their original country's citizenship. For example, suppose a Christian from the Pakistan who apply for Indian citizenship must revocably renounce their Pakistani citizenship. So where to apply or authority to which application may be made or where to apply? So application are submitted electronically under the section 6B of the Citizenship Act 55, processed by a district level committee, under the empowered committee appointed by the central government. Clear? So let's understand for with the example. See, a Buddhist from the Bangladesh living in Kolkata, and he applies through the local district level committee. Clear? So where he can apply? He'll apply through the local district level committee. We already discussed this Constitutional Amendment Act 2019. Clear? Okay, let's move further. Here is the 5 ground of cancelling OCI. So is OCI cancel in this 5 ground? First, registration through fraud, showing disaffection to constitution, engaging with the enemy during war, necessity in interest of sovereignty of India, security of state of public or interest, and if within 5 years of the registration, OCI has been sentenced to imprisonment of 2 years or more. So these are the 5 grounds where OCI card gets cancelled. Okay, so this is about the OCI, but let's understand about the OCI. What is it, right? About it, OCI card holder and how it's work, right? So let's understand. Okay, before moving the OCI topic, let's solve the previous year question, which is related to the Citizenship Amendment Act 2024. Related to citizenships and migration, UPSC asked a question in 2015. The first question is, consider the following statement. So the first statement, a person of Indian origin automatically become an Indian citizen upon entering India. No, not automatically. There is a need to follow the 5 or 4 grounds, right? So that's why option number 1 is wrong. So we can eliminate the option A and C. Citizenship in India can be acquired through the naturalization and registration. Yes. अभी अभी हम लोगों ने इसको पढ़ा है. So option number 2 is correct. Clear? Now let's take the question which asked in 2020 and which is related to Citizenship Act. The question is, the Citizenship Act 1955 provides citizenship through which of the following? By a birth, by a descent, by a registration, by a naturalization process, or by incorporation of territory. All the 5 are correct, right? Because अभी अभी हम लोगों ने इसको पढ़े हैं. So the correct answer is C. See the mains question in UPSC mains 2020. UPSC has asked the question, that is, the Citizen Amendment Act 2019 has been a topic of national debate. Discuss its implication on India secular ethos. Okay. Again in 2021, UPSC has asked question based on the Inner Line Permit and Constitutional Amendment Act. So here explain the concept of the Inner Line Permit and its connection with the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, right? So again, this topic is very important. We have got the questions from the previous year. Okay, let's move to the next topic. Our next topic is related to the overseas citizens of India. First, understand what is this overseas. Overseas citizen of India is a card, is a long-term visa basically, is a long-term visa given to the foreign nationals of Indian origin. Clear? Foreign national to Indian origin. Let's understand why it is in news. It is in news. It is in news because the Ministry of External Affairs has clarified the overseas of Indian citizen card holders are not being reclassified as a foreigner and that OCI rules remain unchanged. Means this was in response to concern raised about the status of OCI holders in India. Right? Let's understand what is an OCI card basically. See, the OCI card is a long-term visa basically, okay, which given to the foreign nationals of Indian origin. Basically, it was introduced in 2005 by amending the Citizenship Act 1955. In 2015, the person Indian origin, okay, in 2015, the person Indian origin and OCI card were merged into single category. They are merged into single category and it's become the OCI, Overseas Citizen of India, in 2015. Clear? If it is not clear, let's understand it with the example. For example, an Indian origin American citizen can get an OCI card, allowing them to live and work in India without needing a visa. However, A Pakistani origin British citizen is not eligible for ACI. Why? Because OCI card is a longer term visa which given to foreign nationals of Indian origin. Clear? Now, so who can apply for OCI? Who is the eligible for the OCI card? A person of Indian origin, if their parents or grandparents is Indian, so they are eligible, right? A child or a spouse of an Indian citizen or OCI card holder, a foreign national whose parents or a grandparents were Indian citizens. Yeah. For example, just understand. Suppose a Canadian citizen whose grandparents were Indian can apply for OCI. Okay. A French citizen married to an Indian citizen can also apply for OCI. I think now it is clear. So, who is not eligible for OCI? See, there is two things. One, foreign military personnel. If he is retired or serving, they are not allowed. Or they are not eligible. Anyone who was ever a citizen of Pakistan or Bangladesh, they are also not eligible. For example, suppose an ex-British Army officer of Indian origin is not eligible for OCI. Second, a person born in India but later took Pakistani citizenship is also not eligible. So just try to understand what is the benefit of OCI card, right? What is the benefit of OCI card holders? So the first benefit is it is a lifelong visa-free travel. Lifelong visa-free travel means OCI card holder get a multiple entry, multi-purpose visa for visiting India anytime. For example, a US citizen of Indian origin can visit India anytime without needing a visa. Same right as NRI in financial, economic, and education manner, right? So, just like the NRI, OCI card holder, OCI card holder can also buy residential and commercial properties. He or she can invest in Indian business and stock markets. For example, if an OCI card holder from the UK can invest in Indian mutual fund just like an NRI. Clear? But apart from this, there is some exception. What is the exception? Exception is they cannot buy agriculture or plantation land. Clear? Even they cannot adopt an Indian child for inter-country adoption. For example, if a Canadian OCI cardholder cannot purchase farmland in Punjab. Okay, now come to the benefits again. If somebody have a OCI card, so they can apply for Indian citizenship after 5 years as an OCI. What happened? See, if they have must if they lived in India for at least 1 year out of the last 5 years before applying. For example, an Australian OCI cardholder who stay in India for a year can apply for citizenship after 5 years. Clear? Even OCI cardholder eligible for national pension scheme. See, OCI cardholder can invest in India's NPS just like NRI. For example, if a person belongs to Singapore-based OCI software engineer can save for retirement through NPS. So this is all about the benefits. Let's talk about the restriction related to OCI card. So what is the restriction? First, no political right. They don't have a political right. OCI card holders cannot vote in Indian election. For example, suppose a US based OCI doctor cannot vote in the Indian Lok Sabha election. Okay, they cannot hold constitutional post also. So they are not eligible to become the President of India under Article 58, Vice President of India under Article 66, Judge of the Supreme Court under Article 124, and Judge of the High Court under Article 217. Clear? For example, if any OCI who is a professor from the Germany cannot become a Supreme Court judge in India. Again, there is a one more restriction, that is they cannot be a member of the parliament because they not get hold the seat of the MP or MLA. They cannot apply for the government job under Article 16. They are not eligible. Okay. So OCI card holder are not eligible for most government job unless specifically permitted by the government. For example, suppose an OCI scientist cannot apply for an IS officer post but may be hired for the research role. Clear? Apart from this, there is some special approval is there, right? So in restricted activity, if they have a special approval, so they can walk in a few areas. For example, in a research work, in a missionary activity, in a mountaineering, in a journalism, in a visiting restricted or protested area, right? So in this journalism and visited restricted and protested area. So this is all about the OCI card holders. Let's discuss the question which has came in UPSC exam related to OCI. In 2021, UPSC has asked a question based on the OCI. So the first question, consider the following statement about the overseas citizen of India. Overseas citizen of India cardholders enjoy all rights of Indian citizen including voting rights. This statement is wrong. अभी हम लोगों ने पढ़ा. They do not require a visa to enter India. Yes, this is correct. So only the B answer is correct, right? Because their OCI card is work as a visa. Clear? Again in 2019, UPSC has asked a question based on OCI that which of the following statement about OCI is correct? First, OCI card holder have the same political rights as Indian citizen? No. Right? OCI card holder can purchase agriculture land? No. OCI card holder requires a special permission for missionary work? Yes. So only the third answer is correct. See, again, one more question which is related to OCI card holder. And this is the mains question. First mains question is discuss the significance of OCI card scheme in strengthening India connection with its diaspora. And second question, which was asked in 2020, that is discuss the significance of OCI scheme and its role in connecting the Indian diaspora with their homeland. See, 2020 में पूछे गए क्वेश्चन और 2020 का okay, this is um, it by mistake it's टाइप 2 times, राइट? तो 2020 में ही इससे रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है जिसमें इंडियन डायस्पोरा को आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है, ठीक है, विद द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ ओसीआई कार्ड स्कीम्स. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द ओसीआई. सो हम लोगों ने क्या सीखा? हम लोगों ने सीखा कि ओसीआई इज ए लाइफ लॉन्ग वीजा फॉर द पीपल ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन. क्लियर? ओसीआई और पीआईओ कार्ड वेयर मर्ज हुआ था कब? 2015 में, और ये बन गया था ओवरसीज सिटीजनशिप कार्ड. ठीक है. OCI card holders can live, work and study in India but cannot vote or hold the government job. For foreign military personnel and citizens of Pakistan and Bangladesh are not eligible for OCI. Clear? And OCI is not dual citizenship. इंडिया डज नॉट अलाउ डुअल सिटीजनशिप, ये चीज हम लोगों ने पहले भी पढ़ी थी, राइट। ओसीआई कार्ड गिव्स द फ्री ट्रैवल एंड इकोनॉमिक्स राइट्स ऑल्सो। who have a OCI card can apply for Indian citizenship after 5 years within a 1 year residency। साथ ही ये भी हमने देखा कि ओसीआई कार्ड होल्डर्स कैन नॉट वोट, hold constitutional post or apply for the government job, even they need a special approval for certain activity। क्लियर है? सो ये टॉपिक हम लोगों ने कंप्लीट कर लिया। लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक। सो द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज रिलेटेड टू सब क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ शेड्यूल कास्ट। चलिए देखते हैं क्यों ये न्यूज में था, सब क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ द शेड्यूल कास्ट। ओके, तो अगर हम 3.2 स्टार्ट करें तो इसमें कहा गया रिजर्वेशन एंड अफर्मेशन एक्शन। क्या है अफर्मेशन एक्शन, क्या है रिजर्वेशन, इनको एक बार देखते हैं। बट उससे पहले ये न्यूज में क्यों था। सी, हुआ यूं था कि many US state have started banning or restricting diversity program on university campuses, right? So this is affecting the affirmative action policy, which help underrepresented groups access education and job। Clear? Now, अब समझते हैं what is the affirmative action। See, basically, it is a policy to increase representation of historically disadvantaged group in education, job, and government institution। For example, in India, affirmative action takes the form of reservation or quota for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward caste। In the US, it is implemented through the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program, which aim to increase opportunities for minority। Let's understand it through the comparison। देखो, आप अगर किसी चीज को कंपेयर करके समझोगे तो और क्लैरिटी आ जाएगी, है ना। सो कंपेयर हम लोगों ने किए हैं इंडिया और यूएसए में, राइट। तो अगर हम बात करते हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ओरिजिन की, ओके, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग्स थ्रू द कंपैरिजन ऑफ इंडिया एंड यूएसए। ओके, so in India, if we are talking about the constitutional origin, so in India, constitution explicitly provide for affirmative action under Article 15 Clause 4 and 16 Clause 4, but in USA, not in Constitution, but 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause allow it. Okay. If we are talking about the purpose, so in India, the purpose is to correct historical discrimination against the lower caste, for example, Dalit, OBC, etc., or economical weaker section. But in India, but in USA, is to the purpose is to address racial discrimination against minority like black, Hispanic, etc., and women also, Asian American and women also, right? If we are talking about the system, okay, before system, let's discuss about the targeted groups. So in India, the target group is SC, ST, OBC, EWS. But in America, it's American, African Americans, Hispanics, Asian American, and women. If we are talking about implementation or system, so it's happened through the quota system in India, like in job and education. But in USA, it is diversity-based approach, like DEI program in education and progress. And if we are talking about the upper limit or upper ceiling, so 50% cap set by the Indra Swane judgment. Okay, 50% set by the Indus-Swane judgment. But in USA, there is a no fixed limit, but race basis admission were struck down by US Supreme Court in 2023. So this is all about the comparison of affirmative action in India and USA. Suppose, so before moving ahead, let's understand these things in a very few example. For example, in India, a student from an OBC category can get a reserved seat in IIT or government job. But in the USA, a black or Hispanic student could get preference in university admission under affirmative action until the recent Supreme Court ruling. Clear? So this is all about the affirmative action. Let's understand the next topic, but before it, let's discuss the previous year questions. In UPSC has asked a question based on the Indian affirmative action in 2017. There is a one question, that is, which of the following constitutional provision enables reservation in public employment for backward classes? आर्टिकल 15 क्लास 4, 16 क्लास 4 और 17। अभी अभी मैंने आपको बताया 15 clause 4 and 16 clause 4, right? So both 1 and 2 is correct. See, 17 deal with the untouchability, not reservation. ठीक है, ये याद रहना चाहिए। इसके साथ ही मेंस में क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था कंपैरेटिव अफर्मेशन एक्शन के रिगार्डिंग में, जिसमें पूछा गया था कंपेयर एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट द अफर्मेटिव एक्शन पॉलिसी ऑफ इंडिया एंड यूनाइटेड स्टेट, डिस्कस देयर इम्पैक्ट ऑन सोशल जस्टिस। अभी अभी हम लोगों ने इन दोनों के बीच के कंपेयर किया था। इसके साथ ही आपको डिस्कस करना है देयर इम्पैक्ट ऑन सोशल जस्टिस, राइट। यहाँ एक इम्पॉर्टेंट बात मैं कहना चाहूंगी, इफ यू नीड एनी हेल्प रिगार्डिंग इन मेंस आंसर राइटिंग or means answer analysis, so you can contact us. Our team is there, our mentoring team is there, so our mentor will help you regarding in your answer writing and analysis of the means answer writing. Okay, let's move to the next topic. So our next topic is sub-classification of scheduled castes. So why it is in news and what does this means, right? Let's understand why it is in news. See, the Supreme Court of India, in the case of State of Punjab and others versus Davinder Singh and others, ruled that the government can create separate quota within a scheduled caste for those who are even more disadvantaged within the category. Right? So what does it means? See, it means scheduled caste are a diverse group, okay, and subcaste within the scheduled caste have faced more discrimination than others. So the court allowed subclassification within scheduled caste so that the most backward among them get the greater benefits. Now it is clear? Good. Let's move to the next point. So what is the key highlights of the judgment? First point is scheduled caste are a diverse group, means not all scheduled caste community face the same level of backwardness, but still there is some problem, right? So sub again second point is sub classification is allowed. Okay, sub classification is allowed. So state can create a smaller quota with scheduled caste reservation for more backward groups. So does not with this they does not violate the article 341, right? It does not violate the article 341. So article 341 clause 1 defines scheduled caste, but subcategory can be created to ensure fairness. So they does not violate article 341. Okay, state must provide data. So regarding that, the government must so prove that certain scheduled caste group are underrepresented and there is a no 100% reservation for a subgroup. So the entire scheduled caste quota cannot be given to just one subgroup. Okay. Even for all this, there is a judicial review apply. So court can review whether state are classifying scheduled caste fairly or just for the politics. Clear? Okay. If it is not clear, let's understand it with the examples. Suppose in Punjab, the Ravidas and Valmiki community within scheduled caste have historically been even more marginalized than other scheduled group. So the Punjab government wanted to allocate a special quota with scheduled caste reservation to uplift them. Which one? Ravidas and Valmiki communities. Now it is clear? Okay. So before moving ahead, let's understand about few things more. That is the constitutional provision. Recently, we had discussed about the Article 341, Clause 1, 342, Clause 2, right? And there is a one more, that is the 342A. Okay, 342A. What is it? See, Article 341, Clause A, it's a precedent specify schedule. Under this, precedent specify schedule caste for each state, right? Article 341, Clause 2, it says Parliament can modify the schedule caste list, adding or removing caste. But apart from this, there is a one more article, that is Article 3, Article 342A, right? So under the Article 342A, it says allows subclassification for socially and educationally backward classes, similar to what is now allowed to schedule caste. If I will give you the few examples related to the socially and educationally backward classes, socially and this one, socially and backward classes. So yes, I'm talking about this article. See, Article 342A, right? It introducing in 2018. So it's empower the president to prepare a list of the SEBC. So regarding the SEBC, OBC reservation is subdivided in some state. Like in Tamil Nadu has most backward classes with OBC, and Karnataka has 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B category within OBC. Okay. So this is all about the backward classes, reservation articles and all. There is a few more examples here regarding judicial pronouncement in context of the reservation. So you can read this one. This data will help you in your mains exam. Clear? Let's discuss the previous year question related to this particular topic. So here is the previous year question. Question is asked in 2020, and the question is, under which article does the President of India have the power to specify the scheduled caste list for the state? अभी अभी हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया, that is article 341. क्लियर है? ओके. इसके बाद आपका मेंस में इससे क्वेश्चन आया था 2021 में, that discuss the need of sub-classification of scheduled caste in India. How does the recent Supreme Court ruling on this issue impact the affirmative action policy? Clear? So again, this topic is also important क्योंकि हमने 2020 में भी इससे क्वेश्चन देखे हैं, 2021 में भी इससे क्वेश्चन देखे हैं. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है हमारा यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक. यूपीएससी हर बार क्वेश्चन इससे पूछती है, तो इसको समझते हैं, इसके बैकग्राउंड को समझेंगे. ठीक है, हम ये भी देखेंगे कि ये न्यूज में क्यों है. सो अगर हम बात करें यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की, तो ये न्यूज में क्यों था उसको देखते हैं. क्योंकि चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ उत्तराखंड ने अनाउंस किया था दैट द यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड विल बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन द स्टेट ऑफ implemented in state from January 2025. मतलब जनवरी 2025 से उत्तराखंड में ये इम्प्लीमेंट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. What does it means? It means this UCC, that is Uniform Civil Code, having a common set of law for personal matter like marriage, divorce, inheritance, and adoption, regardless of religion. So, this bill replace religious based personal law and ensure uniformity in civil matters across all communities. So, this is all about, right? What Chief Minister of Uttarakhand wants. Okay. But first, let's have to understand what is Uniform Civil Code. अगर हम आर्टिकल 44 की बात करें तो आर्टिकल 44 जो हमारा पार्ट 4 में आता है डीपीएसपी, सो आर्टिकल 44 बात करती है स्टेट शुड ट्राई टू ब्रिंग यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड फॉर ऑल सिटीजन्स, राइट। इसी तरीके से अगर हम आर्टिकल 25 की बात करें तो आर्टिकल 25 कहती है गारंटी फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन विथ सम अर्ज कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विथ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड। और हम अगर आर्टिकल 14 की बात करें तो इट ensure the right to equality, means uniform civil code promotes the gender equality. But what is the current status in India? See, India does not have UCC yet, uniform civil code, except in Goa, right? Except in Goa, where the Portuguese civil code apply uniformly to all religion. Different personal law exist for different religion, creating complexity. So this is the good idea if UCC gets applied. But again, there is a few arguments and for and against in UCC. If I'm talking about in arguments for UCC, so in for और इसके पक्ष में अगर मैं बोलूं तो इट्स प्रमोट्स द जेंडर इक्वालिटी, राइट। It replaces the complex religious law with one uniform law. It strengthens the national unity. It's remove the confusion in legal system. But अगर मैं इसके against में बोलूं तो यूसीसी लॉ के यूसीसी may interfere with the religious freedom which comes under the article 25, right? It also could alienate the minorities, leading to social unrest. It also religious custom may be deeply personal and significant, and UCC should be optional, not force. Right? For example, in Goa, all communities follow the same marriage and inheritance law. So, if implemented nationwide, it will end the gender biased personal law in a different religion. So, this is all about the UCCC. So, let's discuss the few questions which was asked by the UPSC in a previous year. So, this is the UPSC question which was asked in 2017 regarding to DPSP and Uniform Civil Code. So, the question is Article 44 of Indian Constitution refers to separation of power between union and state, protection of ST/SC, Uniform Civil Code और establish a पंचायत राज. So, the correct answer is आर्टिकल 44 अभी मैंने डिस्कस किया है आपसे, यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड को प्रोटेक्ट करता है, राइट। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन मेंस में पूछा गया था ऐसे जीएस पेपर 2 में, डिस्कस द नीड फॉर अ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इन इंडिया, व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस इन इट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन। चैलेंजेस में आप इसके दोनों पक्ष रख सकते हैं जो अभी अभी मैंने आपको बताया, फॉर और अगेंस्ट आर्ग्यूमेंट दोनों आप प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं चैलेंजेस में। ओके, नाउ if you again need any help in mains answer writing, you can contact us. Our mentoring team will help you. Okay, let's move to the next topic. So our next topic is related to the preventive detention. Sorry. So preventive detention की बात की हो रही है। देखिए, ये न्यूज में पहले क्यों था, फिर इसके बाद हम समझेंगे कि प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन की मीनिंग क्या होती है, व्हाट डज इट मीन्स। सो इन जसीला साहजी वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस 2024 में हुआ था, जिसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट रूल्ड दैट अ डिटेन पर्सन हैज द राइट टू मेक एन इफेक्टिव रिप्रेजेंटेशन अगेंस्ट देयर प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन। व्हाट डज दिस मीन्स, चलिए इसको समझते हैं। If a person is detained without trial, okay, so they must be given access to the documents that justify their detention. If any failure or delay in providing these documents violates under Article 22, Clause 5 of the Constitution. Clear? तो अब इसको समझते हैं. What is preventive detention? See, preventive detention means detaining a person without trial based on an apprehension that they might commit an act that threatened public order, national security, or essential supply. For example, suppose a person suspected of planning a terror attack can be detained under the preventive detention law to stop the act before it happened. Clear? See, under Article 21, Clause A and 22, Clause 2, it, it protects people from arbitrary arrest and ensure the right to legal representation. Again, you can see Article 22, Clause 3. So it says this protection do not apply to person under the preventive detention. Again, there is a few board articles which are related to preventive detention. That is Article 22, Clause 4. So 22 Clause 4 is says maximum detention without advisory board approval is 3 months. And there is a one more, that is the Article 22 Clause 5. It says detained person must be given a reason for detention and a chance to respond. See, it is written there, Article 22 Clause 5. So understand the uh, few things regarding that Supreme Court ruled that a detained person must receive all document related to their detention without delay to challenge it effectively. So this is all about things, right? So before moving apart in question, let's I have a few more data regarding this to give you the clear understanding, right? That is law that allow the preventive detention in India. There is a few law, right? What is it? See, there is a law that is a National Security Act 1980, which purpose is to use to detain people who pose a threat to national security or public order. Again, we have a law of Unlawful Activities Act UAPA 1967, which deals with terrorism and unlawful activity. Again, we have a one more law, that is Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of the Smuggling Activities Act 1974, means prevent smuggling and financial fraud. And we have a one more law, that is the Prevention of the Black Marketing and Maintenance of Supply of Essential Commodity Act 1980, which purpose is to prevent the hoarding and black marketing of essential goods. For example, NSA was used in 2020 against those accused of inciting violence during protest Delhi. Clear? Okay. Let's understand this preventive detention through the for and against argument. If we are saying in the favor that preventive detention is prevent terrorism, riots, smuggling before they happen. This help to maintain the public order and national security, and preventive detention used in emergency when legal trial take too long time. Okay. But if we are saying in against that preventive detention violates the personal liberty, that is no trial, no bail. Again, it can be misused for the political vendetta, and it goes against the Article 21, that is right to life and liberty. Right? Let's understand it with a few example. For example, during Indira Gandhi emergency in 1975 or 77, many opposition leaders were preventively detained to silence dissent. Right? So this is all about the preventive detention. Let's discuss the few previous year questions. See, in prelims, UPSC has asked a question in 2021 related to preventive detention, and it's directly asked the meaning. So, preventive detention means detain a person after a fair trial, arresting a person for committing an offense, detaining a person to prevent them from the committing a potential offense, and none of the above. So अभी अभी हम लोगों ने पढ़े हैं, so this is the correct answer. 2019 में इससे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए थे. That is, preventive detention is often seen as a violation of the fundamental right. Discuss how it's violates the national security and personal liberty. I think whatever information I have given you, that's information you can use it in your answer writing. If you want that someone can check your answer and tell you where is the flaw or how you can improve your answer, you can contact us. Let's move to the next topic. So the next topic is पर्सनालिटी राइट. व्हाट इज द पर्सनालिटी राइट? देखिए, इसको मैं आपको सिंपल लेमैन लैंग्वेज में एक बार बता दूं. पर्सनालिटी राइट्स ये होता है जिसमें हम किसी की भी आवाज, किसी की भी इमेज, किसी का भी नाम नहीं यूज कर सकते हैं बिना उसके परमिशन के. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैसे अमिताभ बच्चन का जो आवाज है, जब तक हम उनकी परमिशन नहीं लेंगे तब तक हम उसके आवाज को यूज नहीं कर सकते हैं. सेम हम अपने किसी भी कार्टून में या किसी भी वीडियो गेम में अगर हम चाहें कि किसी फॉरेनर पर्सन, किसी फॉरेनर एक्टर का साउंड यूज, आवाज यूज कर ले, तो हम वो भी नहीं कर सकते हैं विदाउट एनी परमिशन. सो राइट टू प्राइवेसी है इस जगह पे. राइट. सो दिस इज द पर्सनालिटी राइट. बट जो मैंने अभी आपको समझाया, दिस इज द layman language. Let's understand in the book language. But before that, let's understand why it is in news. See, in Delhi High Court issued a interim order preventing e-commerce website, AI, chatbot, and other entities from using an actor name, image, voice, likeness without their consent. So what does this mean, right? ओके, सो लेमैन लैंग्वेज में हम लोगों ने समझ लिए थे. अब चलते हैं इसको बुक के लैंग्वेज में समझने के लिए. सो इसमें आप देख सकते हो कि पर्सनालिटी राइट न्यूज़ में थी बिकॉज दिल्ली कोर्ट, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट इशू अ इंटरिम ऑर्डर प्रिवेंटिंग ई कॉमर्स वेबसाइट, AI, chatbots, and other entities from using an actor name, image, voice, or likeness without their consent. Right? So, what does it mean? It means company cannot use a celebrity voice, face, or name to promote product and services without his or her permission. AI generated deepfake, AI generated deepfake videos and voice clone also come under misuse of personality rights. Now this is clear. Okay, let's understand with example. अभी जो मैंने आपको दिए थे कि if an AI chatbot uses Amitabh Bachchan's voice to sell product without his approval, it violates his personality rights. Clear? So now let's understand in deep manner what is the personality rights. Basically, personality rights protects an individual name, voice, signature, any any distinctive personal features from unauthorized use. Okay. There is a legal basis in India also. So not directly mentioned in any law, but linked to right to privacy under Article 21 and right to property under Article 300A. Right? Like no person shall be deprived of property without legal authority. Clear? So this is the legal way, legal basis in India. There is some famous cases also related to the personality rights. So you are aware or not that in 2022 Amitabh Bachchan case, in this case, Delhi High Court banned unauthorized use of his name, voice, and image. Even in Rajnikant case is also in 2015 that Supreme Court ruled that a film title using Rajnikant's name needed his consent. Right? So, are you getting my point or not about the personality rights? Not, let's understand with the example. Suppose if a company prints Virat Kohli face on T-shirt without his permission, so it violates his personality rights. Now it is clear, I think, right? Okay. So with this, what are the post Thomas personality rights? Post Thomas personality right क्या है? See, we already discussed these two right under the constitution, right? Right to publicity and right to privacy. Okay. So इसको समझेंगे पहले. पोस्ट थ्यूमस पोस्ट थ्यूमस पर्सनालिटी राइट मतलब होता है इवन आफ्टर अ पर्सन डेथ their name, image, and reputation cannot be misused or defamed. Right? अगर हम इंडिया में बात करें तो there is a legal protection in India under the defamation section 499 of IPC. Right? Indian Penal Code. Defaming a deceased person reputation can lead to legal action by their family. Even imambles and names also. Imambles and name prevention of improper use of Act 1950 भी है ये वाला. So इसमें क्या होता है? It prohibits the unauthorized use of name of famous personality. For example, if a film defames Mahatma Gandhi character, his family or government can file a legal case. Now it is clear? Correct. Let's understand about the personality rights under the International Convention. There is some personality rights under the International Convention. Understand these things. See, there is a convention. One is your Rome Convention. इसको मैंने और काफी क्लियर वे में लिखे हैं. Let's discuss from here. हाँ, यहाँ से पढ़ो आप. देखो, एक हुआ था रोम कन्वेंशन इन 1961 जो प्रोटेक्ट करता है प्रोटेक्ट्स परफॉर्मर्स राइट एंड ब्रॉडकास्टिंग राइट. राइट. एक है ट्रिप्स एग्रीमेंट. अंडर द ट्रिप्स एग्रीमेंट इट प्रोटेक्ट्स द प्रोसीजर ऑफ फोनोग्राम्स लाइव परफॉर्मेंस एंड ब्रॉडकास्ट. बीपो परफॉर्मेंस एंड फोमोग्राम्स ट्रीटी भी हुई थी. ये भी प्रोटेक्ट करता है टू एक्सटेंड कॉपीराइट प्रोटेक्शन टू डिजिटल मीडिया फॉर परफॉर्मर एंड प्रोड्यूसर. क्लियर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम किसी भी हॉलीवुड एक्टर के वॉइस को नहीं यूज कर सकते हैं इन अ वीडियो गेम विदाउट देयर परमिशन ड्यू टू दिस इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट. ये इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट है हमारे पास ये तीन. ड्यू टू दिस हम किसी भी हॉलीवुड एक्टर के वॉइस को यूज नहीं कर सकते. क्लियर है. नाउ इससे पर्सनालिटी राइट्स से क्या हमारे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए हैं यूपीएससी में? तो हाँ, रिसेंटली 2023 में प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था रिगार्डिंग द पर्सनालिटी राइट्स. Concept including which of the following? Protection of person name and voice, yes. Right to privacy and property, yes. Protection of the posthumous reputation, यानी मरने के बाद, है ना? Yes, तीनों. So all of the above is the correct answer. Let's discuss any other question. Yes, in the mains 2018 में इससे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए थे. इससे रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन था इन द एज ऑफ एआई एंड डीप फेक्स हाउ कैन इंडिया स्ट्रेंथन द लीगल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द पर्सनालिटी राइट्स. तो अभी हमने जितने भी लीगल प्रोटेक्शन पढ़े हैं नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल इवन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में इसके रिगार्डिंग में जो लिंक किया गया है कुछ आर्टिकल्स को हम उसको भी यहाँ आंसर में मेंशन कर सकते हैं. राइट. पहले हम क्या करेंगे? पहले हम एआई डीफेक्स जो इसके कीवर्ड्स है क्वेश्चन के. राइट. एआई कीवर्ड से डीफेक कीवर्ड से लीगल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ पर्सनालिटी राइट. सो पर्सनालिटी राइट इज द कीवर्ड. तो हम ये तीन कीवर्ड्स को मिलाकर इस क्वेश्चन का इंट्रो तैयार करेंगे. इसके बाद हम देखेंगे कि क्वेश्चन में हमसे एग्जैक्टली क्या पूछा जा रहा है. तो इसमें हमसे पूछा जा रहा है हाउ कैन इंडिया स्ट्रेंथन द लीगल प्रोटेक्शन. ठीक है. तो इंडिया कैसे स्ट्रेंथ करेगी लीगल प्रोटेक्शन को उसको हम लिखेंगे मेन बॉडी पार्ट में. और कंक्लूजन में हम बताएंगे कि अभी रिसेंटली किस तरीके से चीजें चल रही हैं और क्या हो सकता है. सो दिस इज योर आंसर. इफ यू नीड मोर हेल्प टू राइट डाउन योर आंसर प्लीज कॉन्टेक्ट अस. आवर मेंटरिंग टीम इज देयर. ही दे कैन हेल्प यू. राइट. ओके. सो ओवरऑल प्रोटेक्शन राइट से हम लोगों ने क्या क्या सीखे? हम लोगों ने सीखा दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट रूलिंग स्ट्रेंथन द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ सेलिब्रिटी अगेंस्ट द एआई मिसयूजेस एंड अनऑथराइज्ड ब्रांडिंग. क्लियर. सेकेंड हमने सीखा पर्सनालिटी राइट्स आर इन्वॉल्विंग बट नॉट येट फुल्ली कोडिफाई इन इंडियन लॉ. तो इसको किससे कनेक्ट किया गया है? इसको अभी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के कुछ फंडामेंटल राइट से कनेक्ट किया गया है. क्लियर. हमें किस बात पे फोकस करना है तो एज अ यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट हम लोगों को फोकस करना है लीगल केसेस, डिजिटल इम्प्लीकेशन और इंटरनेशनल कंपैरिजंस को फोकस करके हम इसके आंसर को लिख सकते हैं। क्लियर? ओके, लेट्स मूव टू द फाइनल एंड लास्ट टॉपिक. So under this, there is a few important news is also there with this topic. First is enemy property. Second is right to be forgotten. And last one is, okay, यही हमारा लास्ट है, right to be forgotten. नो वन, दिस इज इनर लाइन परमिट. हम लोगों ने इसको पढ़े भी थे, इनर लाइन परमिट को, राइट? सो तीन टॉपिक है यहाँ, देख लेते हैं क्या है. काफी छोटे छोटे टॉपिक्स हैं. एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी. सी एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी न्यूज में क्यों आया, पहले तो आप ये जानो. एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी न्यूज में इसलिए आया था क्योंकि उत्तर प्रदेश में प्रॉपर्टी थी. किसकी? फॉर्मर प्रेसिडेंट परवेज मुशर्रफ जी जो हैं, उनकी, उनके एंसेस्टर की प्रॉपर्टी थी उत्तर प्रदेश में, राइट? सो अब प्रॉपर्टी इन उत्तर प्रदेश बिलोंगिंग टू द एंसेस्टर ऑफ पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तानी फॉर्मर्स, फॉर्मर प्रेसिडेंट परवेज मुशर्रफ हैज बीन डिक्टेटेड फॉर सेल अंडर द एनिमी प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1968. सो पहले पढ़ते हैं कि क्या है प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट, देन उससे हमें ये चीजें समझ आएगी. ठीक है? बेसिकली क्या होता है, प्रॉपर्टी बिलोंग्स टू अ नेशनल ऑफ एनिमी कंट्री. एनिमी कंट्री हमारी कौन सी है? दो डिफाइन की गई है, वन इज पाकिस्तान एंड सेकेंड इज चाइना, right? So, belonging to the national of enemy country after India's war in 1947, 1962 and 1965. ये तीन वॉर के बाद हमने, बाद इन दो कंट्री को, इंडिया एंड चाइना, सॉरी पाकिस्तान एंड चाइना को, इंडिया ने अपना एनिमी कंट्री डिक्लेयर किया है. कुछ इसके लीगल बेसिस है, जैसे कि एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट 1968 की अगर हम बात करें तो एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट में ये स्टैब्लिश किया गया था to the custodians of enemy property to manage such a properties, right? और 2017 में इसके अमेंडमेंट भी किया गया था. बट बिफोर दैट, जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दिस, एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी इज अ प्रॉपर्टी दैट बिलोंग्स टू और वाज मैनेज्ड ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ एन एनिमी. क्लियर? यहाँ से ये चीज क्लियर हो गई. तो जो 2017 में अमेंडमेंट किया गया था वो क्या था? 68 में एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट 2068 जो था उसको 2017 में अमेंडमेंट किया गया था. अमेंडमेंट करने के बाद उसमें किया गया था, इट एक्सटेंडेड डेफिनेशन ऑफ एनिमी टू इंक्लूड लीगल हियर ऑफ एन एनिमी इवन इफ दे आर इंडियन सिटीजन, इंडिविजुअल हुज चेंज देयर नेशनैलिटी फ्रॉम एन एनिमी कंट्री टू अनदर. ऑथोरिटी किसके पास जाएगी? ऑथोरिटी जाएगी द कस्टोडियन ऑफ एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ इंडिया अंडर द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स मैनेज दिस प्रॉपर्टी. क्लियर? सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी. अगर इसको एग्जाम्पल से मैं समझाऊं आपको तो आप ऐसे समझो, प्रॉपर्टीज ओन्ड बाय पाकिस्तानी सिटीजन्स हु माइग्रेटेड आफ्टर द partition or 1965 Indo-Pak War are categorized as enemy property. Now it is clear enemy property क्या है. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक पे चलते हैं. राइट टू बी फॉरगेटन. राइट टू बी फॉरगेटन क्यों आया है न्यूज में? बिकॉज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एग्जामिन किया था, एग्जामिन करेगी, द सुप्रीम कोर्ट विल एग्जामिन द राइट टू बी फॉरगेटन एंड इट्स इम्प्लीकेशन ऑन डिजिटल प्राइवेसी. Okay, and its implication of digital privacy. So, the right to be forgotten means RTBF. RTBF के बारे में हम पढ़े तो पहले इसके डेफिनेशन को जानते हैं. क्या है ये? RTBF का डेफिनेशन यहाँ बताया गया है, द राइट ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स टू रिक्वेस्ट द रिमूवल ऑफ पर्सनल डेटा फ्रॉम द इंटरनेट डेटाबेस एंड सर्च इंजन. क्लियर है? तो राइट ऑफ इंडिविजुअल, एक इंडिविजुअल का राइट जिसमें वो रिक्वेस्ट कर सकता है रिमूवल ऑफ पर्सनल डेटा फ्रॉम द इंटरनेट डेटाबेस एंड सर्च इंजन. अगर हम इसकी ओरिजिन की बात करें तो इसकी ओरिजिन कहाँ से आई है? इट डिराइव फ्रॉम द राइट टू ऑब्लिवियन इन फ्रेंच jurisprudence. Clear? It recognized as a part of life under Article 21 in the Justice of K.S. Puttaswamy case in 2017. ओके, करंट स्टेटस क्या है इसकी इंडिया में अगर हम देखें तो इट वाज नॉट एक्सप्लिसिटली मेंशन इन द डिजिटल पर्सनल डेटा प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 2003, बट इंटरनेशनल प्रेसिडेंट्स की अगर हम बात करें तो यूरोपियन जीडीपीआर जो है, GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation, it's provide for RTBF. Okay, so इसको एक शॉर्ट फॉर्म एग्जांपल में समझाऊं तो इफ अ पर्सन पास्ट क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड इज क्लियर, उसका किसी पर्सन ने कुछ क्रिमिनल के काम किया था और उस केस को ओवर हो चुका है, उसने अपनी सजा भुगत रखी है, नाउ ही इज अ वेरी क्लियर पर्सन, so they may request Google or social media platform to remove all references. So this is called right to be forgotten. Now it is clear. Let's move to the inner line permit. क्या है inner line permit? पहले ये देखते हैं कि ये न्यूज़ में क्यों था. Because of Nagaland government has extended the inner line permit system to चुमोकेडिमिया, न्यूलैंड एंड दीमापुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट. नागालैंड ने अप्रूव कर दिया है, इम्प्लीमेंट किया है इनर लाइन परमिट को, है ना, एक्सटेंड कर दिया है इनर लाइन परमिट सिस्टम को 3 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में. ओके, पहले जानते हैं ये न्यूज़ में क्या था, क्योंकि नागालैंड ने ऐसा किया है, नागालैंड स्टेट ने एक्सटेंड किया है, इसलिए ये न्यूज़ में था. अब जानते हैं इसके बारे में. देखो होता क्या है ये. See, a travel permit required by Indian citizen to enter certain protected area in Northeast India. ठीक है, क्यों, पर्पस क्या है इसके पीछे, टू रेगुलेट द मूवमेंट नियर इंडिया इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर, टू प्रोटेक्ट द इंडिजीनियस ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी फ्रॉम डेमोग्राफिक चेंजेस. क्लियर हुआ. क्यों प्रोटेक्ट होना चाहिए, क्यों परमिट की जरूरत है, सो दैट कि जो इंडिया से नियर बाय रिलेटेड इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर है वहां पर रेगुलेट होनी चाहिए मूवमेंट. सेकेंड, उस डेमोग्राफिक चेंजेस नहीं होना चाहिए जहां वहां के रियल इंडिजीनियस ट्रिब्यूनल कम्युनिटी रहती है, इसलिए उस सब जगह में उस एरिया को प्रोटेक्शन देने के लिए इनर लाइन परमिट को यूज किया जाता है. सो लीगल बेसिस है क्या इसका इन इंडिया. यस, बंगाल ईस्टर्न फ्रंटियर रेगुलेशन 1873, इट्स covered the covered by covered by the inner line permit. अरुणाचल प्रदेश, मिजोरम, नागालैंड एंड मणिपुर, इन इन यहाँ पे हमें इनर लाइन परमिट की जरूरत होती है. किसको चाहिए इनर लाइन परमिट, इंडियन सिटीजन फॉर शॉर्ट और लॉन्ग स्टे, कोई भी इंडियन सिटीजन उनको चाहिए इनर परमिट. ठीक है, NRI, OCI कार्ड होल्डर, PIO मस्ट अप्लाई फॉर द प्रोटेक्टेड रिस्ट्रिक्टेड एरिया परमिट. उनको भी यहाँ अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा, इसके लिए उनको चाहिए. ठीक है, यहाँ पर डेटा लिखा हुआ है देखो. सपोज सॉरी, चलो इसको पहले समझते हैं, प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया परमिट एंड रेस्ट्रिक्टेड एरिया परमिट क्या है. देखो, पैप एंड रैप, राइट. पैप जो है वो 1958 में इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था और ये रेगुलेट्स करता है फॉरेनर एंट्री इनटू प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया. इसी तरीके से जो रैप है वो रेगुलेट्स करता है फॉरेनर मूवमेंट इन सर्टेन रेस्ट्रिक्टेड जोन. फॉरेन नीड्स स्पेशल अप्रूवल टू विजिट इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश, पार्ट ऑफ द हिमाचल प्रदेश, जम्मू कश्मीर, राजस्थान, उत्तराखंड एंड सिक्किम, अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड ऑल्सो, द इंटायर यूटी के लिए उनको परमिशन की जरूरत है. आप एग्जाम्पल से समझो. सपोज इफ अ टूरिस्ट फ्रॉम दिल्ली wants to visit त्वांग जो अरुणाचल प्रदेश में है, so they must obtain an inner line permit. However, a foreigner would require a PAP. क्लियर हो गया यहाँ डेटा. तो फॉरेनर को पैप की जरूरत पड़ेगी, बट अगर वो इंडियन है तो उसे इनर लाइन परमिट की जरूरत पड़ेगी. फाइन, चलिए इससे देखते हैं कि क्या क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था प्रीलिम्स का. हाँ, अगर मुझे जहाँ तक याद है तो रिसेंटली ही 2024 में ही इसके रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन आया था प्रीलिम्स में, तो इसको डिस्कस करते हैं. ये आई थिंक नेट इशू है, सो तो एक 2024 का क्वेश्चन पेपर उठा के देख सकते हैं. प्रीलिम्स का क्वेश्चन आया था, उसमें क्वेश्चन था विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट अबाउट द इनर लाइन परमिट सिस्टम इन इंडिया. तो इनर लाइन परमिट सिस्टम के रिगार्डिंग में ही क्वेश्चन किया गया था. अगर आपको थोड़ा बहुत यहाँ से पता चल रहा हो तो ये क्वेश्चन ही है. ये अपलोड नहीं हो रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ नेट इशू, राइट. तो क्वेश्चन था, पहला स्टेटमेंट था इट अप्लाई टू बोथ इंडियन सिटीजन एंड फॉरेन नेशनल इक्वली. नहीं, इक्वली नहीं, राइट. फॉरेनर को पैप की जरूरत होती है और इंडियंस को ILP की जरूरत होती है. Second, it is based on the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873. Yes, ILP is required to enter all north ईस्टर्न स्टेट ऑफ इंडिया, नहीं सभी के लिए नहीं चाहिए है ना, तो दैट्स वाई ओनली स्टेटमेंट नंबर 2 इज करेक्ट. ILP does not apply equally to foreigner and it not required in Assam, Meghalaya and Tripura. क्लियर. एक क्वेश्चन भी पूछा गया था जीएस पेपर 2 से, दैट इज डिस्कस द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द राइट टू बी फॉरगेटन इन द डिजिटल era. शुड इंडिया इंक्लूड दिस राइट एक्सप्लिसिटली इन द डेटा प्रोटेक्शन लॉ. तो ये एक क्वेश्चन था जीएस पेपर 2 में पूछा गया था फॉरगेटन डेटा से रिलेटेड. तो यहाँ हम लोगों ने अपना कंप्लीट कर लिया है थर्ड पॉइंट. कल फिर से हम लोग मिलेंगे और नेक्स्ट चैप्टर में हम लोग अपना सेशन में कंप्लीट करेंगे टॉपिक नंबर 4, दैट इज सेंटर स्टेट रिलेशन. वीडियो कैसा लगा आपका कमेंट हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होगा, कमेंट करके बता सकते हैं. आंसर राइटिंग के लिए कोई हेल्प चाहिए, मेंटरिंग के लिए कोई हेल्प चाहिए तो आप हमसे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच.